So according to a recent World Bank report, South Africa is still the most unequal society in the world. Many believe state capture has exacerbated the issue. A lack of funding means that many key positions have been left vacant and the communities without important services. For more on this, we're joined by Mr. Kganki Matabane from the Black Business Council, and he penned a very interesting thought-piece article. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this afternoon. So this weekend, the President and some members of his cabinet heading to the northwest, hundreds of people queuing to lodge their complaints in terms of service delivery. And as a result, a number of promises were made by the President and some members of his cabinet. But do you believe this will be achieved without key positions within some government departments being filled?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. I think it's much easier to talk and much more difficult to implement. There are so many positions that are budgeted for. I'm not talking about positions that are not budgeted for. I'm talking about positions that are budgeted for, that are in the organizational structures, and they are not filled. Some of them for more than 5 years, as I've indicated on the article, that the Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury has not been filled for 6 years. And that is just one example. There are many other examples that are there. And you cannot, because you cannot improve service delivery without filling these positions. And these positions, when they're occupied by people who are acting, they don't feel like they've got authority. So they're going to do as little as possible, and they are not going to be able to take decisions, especially firm decisions that are likely to be controversial. They cannot in any way be firm with their colleagues because they may be back and going back to report to the very same colleagues that they were managing. So it's important that positions are filled with permanent employees so that at least they can take decisions, and that those decisions affect the service delivery. When we look at private sector, for example, there's no way they can leave a position vacant for 6 months or so. The positions are filled on an urgent basis because people have to get services, and services can only be provided by people who are appointed permanently.
To your example of the private sector, where there wouldn't be a vacuum, in terms of leadership for a certain amount of time because it has consequences, does it appear to you that there are proclamations, especially where, the public sector is concerned, setting out how soon vacant posts can be filled, especially the critical ones?
If you look at the especially senior positions, the DG, the DDGs, CEOs of state-owned enterprises, most of those people don't just wake up to them and say, tomorrow I'm leaving. They actually have to give notice. Some they give as long as 3 months. And the reason why there's a long notice period like that is that in that period, when they are serving notice, you are given an opportunity to find a replacement. So that's why you cannot understand why some positions will take a year. If you look at the Director General of the Department of Trade and Industry, Trade, Industry and Competition, which is a very, very, very critical department for business and for job creation, for industrialization, like economic empowerment. The DG position has been vacant for more than a year, and which tells you that certain things will never happen. The economic recovery, for example, hinges on the economic cluster of departments. And if a key department like the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition does not have a permanent DG, some of the DDGs are also acting, chief directors are also acting, nothing much is going to happen. So we can forget about the economic reconstruction and recovery if we can't take relatively simple decisions like those of filling positions. We do have a lot of professionals in South Africa who can fill those positions. I'm sure they are available when the positions are advertised.
When we take a look at the public sector wage bill, it's quite pricey. It's quite a lot, right? And you speak of DGs and DDGs. There's been, some whispers in some sectors of society that says we need to relook this whole system of having MECs, MMCs, DGs, DDGs, deputy DDGs, because when you take a look at the bill as opposed to the output, can we justify it?
Yeah, I think it's a different discussion of whether we've got more or less. And most of the time, the number of public servants we have now are far less than what we had during apartheid, which is a different discussion to say, can we deliver with less? But that's a different discussion. The discussion now is that those positions that are there, they are budgeted for. So they're not going to add additional costs to the current budget. They are already in the budget. So the simple thing is just to make sure that those positions are filled. They are not going to add to balloon anything because they already, as we speak now, when you account for the budget, the positions are there, they are budgeted for. So they should just be filled as soon as possible so that there can be capacity in departments. The local municipalities will have similar things. When we've got an acting mayor for 6 months, for 1 year, acting municipal manager for 6 months, for 1 year, they are not going to be much happening because people need a permanent person to actually approve with confidence. The one who's there acting, they are likely not to approve anything, and they'll just stall everything, and that then will negatively affect service delivery.
Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Mr. Kganki Matabane is the CEO of the Black Business Council.